So I just got a real interesting question from a client who was working with a coaching client of his. And this client is an introvert. And the question was, how do you coach an introvert or train an introvert to be more extrovert? How do you get an introvert to talk more, to engage more? And if that's the question, and that's a good question, if that's the question, I think we're framing it all wrong. How do you get an introvert to be more extroverted? How do you get a perceiver to be more judging? That's framed incorrectly, and in fact, that's a losing battle. Let's try and get the same behavior out of a reframing of the question. Remember, when we're taking a look at type, that we each have a preference for extroversion or introversion. So to expect either one, any preference, to just act like the other, that's not a winning strategy. But if you want more engagement out of somebody, that's not a bad thing to want. But how can I typologically pull that off most effectively? To do that, ironically, let's forget about extroversion or introversion for a second and think about judging and perceiving. Remember what judging and perceiving actually tell us. Too often times this is reduced incorrectly to judges are neat and P's are messy. That J's are on time and perceivers are scattered. That's not right. What judging and perceiving is actually about is of the two core functions, of the core mental functions, perceiving, taking in data, and judging, making decisions, which of these two functions is oriented to the outer world? Which of them is naturally facing the outer world? Because it turns out that each one of us is going to extrovert or externalize one of these two, while introverting or hiding, keeping to themselves the other. And so if you're a J, regardless of whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, if you're a judger, you naturally share with the world, engage with the world, your judging function. You naturally extrovert your judgment. And if you're a perceiver, you naturally extrovert or externalize to the world your perceiving, your information gathering. So that means if you would like to get somebody whose preference is for introversion to engage more, to extrovert more, you're not trying to coach them on how to be an extrovert. What you're trying to do is coax out of them that function that naturally exists in the outer world anyway. So the part of you that you naturally extrovert, I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to engage more with that from you. And so, for instance, this INFP, while they are an introvert, their preference is for P, which means their perceiving function, in this case intuition, is naturally extroverted. For all INFPs, in spite of their introversion, they're naturally out in the world engaging with information. And so the way to get this INFP to engage or to be more extroverted is to get them to brainstorm, ask questions, show their curiosity, show their flexibility, and they will naturally show up in an extroverted way with those tasks. This ISTJ, they're an introvert, yes, but as a judger, that means they are going to naturally, automatically extrovert or externalize their thinking, decision-making, their objectivity. And so you're not trying to turn this ISTJ into an extrovert. What you're trying to do is hook and engage the part of them that naturally exists in the outer world, in the external world, and that's the part of them that is coming to objective, analytical conclusions. So the question of how do I get my introverts to extrovert more isn't about turning an introvert into an extrovert. What it is about is paying attention to type dynamics. What function naturally exists in the outer world and take advantage of it? That's a great question.